Kia ora, talofa, namaste, haere mai, and welcome to this week's episode of the Niche Cage Variety Show. We will be doing podcasts this week. We'll do another podcast on Thursday. Then we'll take 2 weeks off to enjoy Blackcaps versus Pakistan on the tele. And we'll be back 2 weeks after this week with more podcasts. We will be continuing to write about Aotearoa sport for our website, theniche-cage.com, and the email newsletters are most likely going to keep flowing on a Monday and Friday evening throughout the festive period as well. So big up yourself, big up the Niche Cage. We are here for Aotearoa and we love Aotearoa sport. Wildcard is a little warm-up kōrero. I've been trying to get these Kiwi-NRL power rankings off the out of my head into the keyboard and out into the big wide world. And I got the Dragons dead last. Dragons, you could make the case they're not dead last because the Redcliffe Dolphins are yet to enter the rankings. So there is a team below the Dragons because the Dragons are 16 out of 16. And then you've got the Redcliffe Dolphins. So I think next year the Redcliffe Dolphins will automatically start ahead of the Dragons, unfortunately, because the Dolphins do have half their squad from Aotearoa.
I think they might start ahead of more than just the Dragons on those rankings when they enter the standings.
So I just want to get to try and bolster the Dragons Kiwi-NRL mana. Let's just do a quick exercise of some Kiwi-NRL signings that you could, in theory, make. And I want to give you a top tier signing, like a Dylan Brown signing. So we're talking, this will just help us understand a lot of Kiwi-NRL and salary cap wildcard because no one knows much about the NRL salary cap. No one knows anything about it right now for next season. But a top-tier signing, we're talking like a Dylan Brown level signing, a Joey Manu level signing, 800K to 1.1 million. Who are you looking at in that type of marquee space? What are your needs and how are you feeling?
Well, it seems to me that the only three positions really where you'd spend that, like, your top bulk of your sort of salary cap, your highest paid player type, or one of your highest paid players, you're either going to get a gun fullback, a superstar half, or just a block-busting forward who can do a little bit of everything. Fullback is an interesting one. It's definitely one where I would consider for the Dragons. But they do have a strong halfback. And I think maybe they would be best suited with just the demolishing forward. And I already have an idea here, which is Nelson Asofa-Solomona. Chuck him in that team. I think he'd go pretty well. I don't know if you've got any other alternatives who might fit that mold, but I think maybe, I don't know, Nelly in a red V would be a bit of a dream for me.
I think that's a realistic one as well. You can throw the checkbook at Asofa-Solomona because you know the Melbourne Storm probably aren't going to overpay, although he probably does have some loyalty to the Storm. And I would personally love to see him stay at the Storm for the rest of his career. But I do agree that would be a fantastic signing. You could probably also pry Joey Manu away from the Roosters if you really went hard. Maybe a 1.2 deal for Manu.
Tell him he gets to play fullback for this team rather than centre, you know.
But again, major hearty mana connection with the Roosters, going back to when they recruited him out of Tokoroa. Middle tier, we're dealing with a solid NRL player, 400 to 700K, probably around 500, 600K. You suggested an outside back. You reckon you just want a solid NRL outside back. And I see that you've gone after Nelson Asofa-Solomona in that market, in the top tier market. So why don't you go after his cousin, Kenny Mamalo?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
not bad. Someone you might be able to get it under market value after a couple rough years. Plus, he'd certainly be available, and you know he's got a reliable skill set at this level. Yeah, I mean, I just want to see the Dragons with another Kiwi winger, throwing it back to the old Jason Nightingale days. You know, just someone who would catch the ball, put it down over the try line. That's all it takes.
If you are after a strike winger, I'd be having a close look at Will Warbrick as well.
Ooh.
again in the Storm system, yet to play NRL, but he is a fantastic outside back. And you could look at like the Tigers duo. Again, we're just rating the Tigers here. Asu Kepaoa, centre winger, or Starford Toa would also go well in that position. I think if you gave Starford Toa a really good contract, he would be pretty solid at centre, maybe a bit of winger. Plug a hole at fullback if required as well. Lower tier wildcard, we're just looking for a bargain. And I automatically thought about the emerging players, but in that bargain kind of category, are you looking for a young player just to play limited minutes, or are you looking a bit older?
Well, there's the two options, isn't it? And that kind of thing is you get your journeyman who can give you a solid 20, 30 minutes off the bench, probably rotation forward type player, or someone who can just like be your backup winger, center, or those kind of things. Or you're looking for an up and comer who would start playing a very similar role. Like they might be getting 10, 20, 30 minutes off the bench, and they might be a backup, or they might be a backup for a different position, but you hope down the line will emerge into someone a lot better. So I don't know, I'm a little more intrigued by that idea, the younger player who starts in this lower tier of your salary cap, but also might very soon be outperforming what you're paying for them. And if I was picking someone for the Dragons, unless there's like a superstar potential fullback who hasn't got an NRL gig yet and you could get on the cheap, which I think is sketchy. I think everyone would be looking for someone like that. I'm thinking probably, I don't know, like a utility forward or just a prop rotation type forward, like a young dude, gun it off the bench, maybe starting in 2 or 3 years, but starting off just give us 20 to 30 great minutes per game, and that's all it takes. So if you've got any suggestions.
One name that came to mind is the Jazahia Pua'avase. He's a Montreal Marlins junior, and he's been in the Cowboys system. I've covered him a lot because he played in the Townsville, I think it was the Mal Meninga Cup team last year, and then he played under 21s, and both those teams made the finals in Queensland. And he's also played reserve grade for Townsville, middle forward, yet to play NRL, coming up through the Cowboys system. You could probably recruit him, start the season in reserve grade, and then he would be looking to add to your bench as well. High pedigree, he's a winner. Cowboys recruited him. That would be a good one. And I'd also throw in one of the Fa'atili brothers in the wider Broncos general system. Felix or Caius. They've been playing with Wynnum, and I think if you offered them out of Canterbury Rugby League, fantastic, robust forwards. And again, if you offered them like a fringe NRL spot, I reckon you could get like those type of forwards. Bulldogs signed Isaac Matalavea Booth from the Titans. If you had a Sofa Solomona and Matalavea Booth, that would be fantastic.
Master and apprentice. There you go. I mean, I like the idea of signing the brothers as well, because the Dragons do have a little bit of a history of having, sets of brothers at the club. That's something that would play in nicely to the legacy of the club as well as the future, you know.
Big up Kiwi-NRL, big up The Niche Cache. We are from The Niche Cache, theniche-cache.com. Prior to this, we've recorded a Patreon podcast breaking down the Blackcaps test squad, predicted lineups, and some wider Blackcaps ODI chat for our Patreon whānau. Big up the Patreon whānau supporting The Niche Cache and all our content. That is the best way to support everything that we do. And we drop an extra podcast there driven by the Patreon whānau every week. Also started a Buy Me a Coffee page, so you can make a donation there if you do feel the vibe. And of course, we have our Patreon is patreon.com/our niche cache. Buy Me a Coffee is just /the niche cache, buymeacoffee.com/the niche cache. And our email newsletter comes out every Monday and Friday evening, covering all Aotearoa sports. Probably a mandatory sign up over the next few weeks during the festive period. There's a whole lot of Super Smash we'll be covering. Breakers will keep playing basketball. The Phoenix will keep playing football. And Aotearoa sport will roll on. So you'd want that. Sign up. You'll be away on holiday. You'll check your email. It'll be there. All sorts of Aotearoa sporting notes and nuggets, as well as all the links to our podcast and all the links to everything we are writing at theniche-cage.com. Email is via Substack, thenichecage.substack.com. Let's get a bit of mindfulness, Wildcard.
Yeah, let's get a bit of mindfulness. This one, the first sentence is the main one, but I'll read the full 3 sentences because it's interesting context as well, especially when I tell you who said it. It goes, the most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and all science, the unknown, the mysterious is where art and science meet. Man who said that was a fella by the name of Albert Einstein. So there you go, fellas. First of all, that fella's got mad quotes. And second of all, very interesting for a renowned scientist, probably the most famous scientist, definitely of the 20th century, if not ever, telling you that the mysterious isn't just like the most interesting, it's the most beautiful thing we can experience.
That was so out of the box from Einstein. I thought it was like attributed to Dumbledore. I was like, whoa,
Dumbledore.
Mysterious magic. It is the season for a bit of Jesus Christ. It is Christmas. And of course, everyone in the whole world is Christian. So I'd just say God works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, there you go.
Now is the time of mysterious, magical forces. So you might as well embrace it. A bit of mystery, a bit of art. If a scientist is embracing art, you know where the magic is held.
Yeah, and it's nice when you get that idea of you can have art and science in the same thing as opposed to being competitive for some reason. Because I do think that like science is trying to solve mysteries, but if you have a love for the mystery in turn, then you are just going to be better at that, I suspect. And also, it's one of those things, the more mysteries you solve, the more you realize, like every time you solve one mystery, you uncover 6 more that it's like, oh, well, I now know this, but that has helped me realize how much I don't know this, and this. And I think art as well, a lot of it is trying to express things that are inexpressible through other means. Like they can't be solved. You can't explain it. You can just try to, I don't know, represent it on a canvas or in a song or in a book in some kind of way through a story, I guess is a better way to say that. And those things aren't as separate as they might seem. Even though they appear to be coming from opposite things, both of them in a way have an embracement. Both of them are embracing the idea of mystery, the mysterious and the unknown, right?
'Tis the season to embrace the mystery. Let's get into some more Aotearoa sports here, Wildcard. The leading banger take segment. What do you got?
Well, how about this? The 2 form teams in the NBA right now, the National Basketball Association of America, are the 2 teams with a strong Kiwi presence. So you got the Memphis Grizzlies. Don't need much explanation there. Pretty clear for all to see. Did have a recent burnout against the Thunder, which was a bit of a bad loss. Ja Morant getting hilariously ejected in the middle of that one. But they also demolished the Bucks recently. The Milwaukee Bucks, who have the best record in the league, demolished them. Grizzlies have won 8 out of 10 of their recent games. They currently have the 3rd best record in the NBA, despite, get this, still not having logged a single minute of their starting 5 together. At no point have they been able to get Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Dillon Brooks, Jaren Jackson, and Steven Adams all on the floor at the same time. Hasn't happened yet. They're getting closer and closer, and they're winning games and beating very good teams by a lot. I mean, they're only going to get better when Bane comes back. That's a dangerous side, and a team that's getting a lot of credit for what they're doing at the moment. Slightly more underrated. How about the Brookie Nets? So, lingering all through that offseason and what felt like just eternal chaos. Durant and Irving both requested trades. Neither of them got them. Durant wanted Sean Marks fired at one point. Kyrie Irving couldn't keep his mouth shut for 2 days without saying something dumb or inflammatory. Then the season starts. They're not playing very well. Steve Nash really does get fired as head coach. And I mean, drama continued when the Nets were then heavily linked with currently suspended Celtics coach Ime Udoka to take over. Like, it was one thing after another, and everyone was going on and on and on about what a disaster this franchise is. And it was a shambles at that point, but I'll tell you what Sean Marks never did. Didn't panic. Didn't go for the dramatic trade. He backed off on the Udoka thing and promoted assistant Jacques Vaughan instead to coach them. He stayed the course with a team that he believed is good enough to win a championship. And guess what? They've won 9 of their last 10 games. They've won 6 in a row. They're shooting up the conference standings in the Eastern Conference there. 2 contrasting pathways to get there, and that's an understatement to say the least. And also, who knows how long it's going to last with either of these teams, but especially the Brooklyn Nets still do feel like quite a volatile team. We don't know if this will sustain it, but right now, as it stands, Aotearoa's 2 finest basketball and experts, Stephen Adams, Sean Marks, getting it done with a whole lot of wins.
Steve and Sean representing
the lads.
My sizzling banger here, wildcard, is that I am cautiously optimistic about the Blackcaps' chances in their upcoming test series against Pakistan. Definitely cooled down after my robust prediction of a series sweep against England. Got that wrong. It went the other way. So definitely went down a few notches. I've had to deal with the reality of Blackcaps cricket, but I'm still cautiously optimistic right now. I think they've got some, as we discussed in the Patreon podcast, I believe they've got some bowling tools that are going to be useful in Pakistan. Spinners spinning the ball both ways. Southey and Wagner doing their thing. You got some, I reckon this is a fantastic batting unit for the Blackcaps. Obviously, it's hard going to Pakistan to win test matches. And, of course, the Blackcaps kind of suck in this World Test Championship cycle, so that's also influencing matters. But I am cautiously optimistic. If they can get a win and a draw, that would be pretty good. I'll be happy with that, let alone 2 wins. Not going to predict the series sweep, though. I would also add, I'm cautiously optimistic about the Blackcaps in Pakistan tests, and I'll put that out to ODIs as well. As of December 20th, I share this cautiously optimistic vibe with the Aotearoa Warriors. Cautiously optimistic. I'm not going to big up any expectations or any buzz, but I'm definitely settling into some optimistic thoughts about the Aotearoa Warriors ahead of the 2022-2023 season. When I write cricket, you deal in years. You go 2022/23.
Yeah, a lot of football's the same, yeah.
I verbally just morphed the 2 right there. That's how deep in the mangroves I am with Cricket Wildcard. I'm speaking as I'm typing. Let's get a vitamin statistic in here. You love a bit of captaincy?
Yeah, I've got 3 stats about the Blackcaps Test captaincy, or just Blackcaps captaincy in general, actually. And in the spirit of the season, I'm going to go with the stat of Christmas past, past, present, and future, like the old Dickensian Christmas tale, but I guess it's not got anything to do with Christmas. So, stat of the past. Kane Williamson has the best winning percentage of any New Zealand Test captain in history, 55%. He won 22 of his 40 matches in charge with 8 draws, 10 defeats. Fleming has the most wins of all time with 28, but he needed literally double the games to get there. 28 wins from 80 tests, whereas Williamson won 22 out of 40. Williamson's ratio of wins to losses, therefore, 2.2, miles ahead of any other Kiwi skipper. Probably no surprises there, to be honest, considering he's one of the few captains in history that got to captain Kane Williamson as a batter. It's the advantage that he had. Stat of Blackcaps captaincy, present. There are no test stats on Tim Southey as a captain yet, because he hasn't captained in test match cricket. But he has captained a lot in 2020 cricket. He has a very commendable record, actually, of 13 wins, 6 losses, and 3 ties. Interesting, 3 ties was half as many as his losses from the 22 games he's taken charge of as a T20 captain. Pretty good. A few of those against sort of minnow nations, but also I think there's this series against India and England in there as well. Better yet is that his bowling average as T20 skipper, 18.7, economy rate of 7.74 when he's the T20 skipper, and a strike rate of a wicket every 14.4 deliveries when he's not the skipper. That 18.7 rises up to 25.37 average. That 7.7 economy rises to 8.27 RPO. And that strike rate of 14.4 rises to a wicket every 18.3 deliveries. Clear difference there. Tim Southee has been a far better 2020 bowler when he has been captaining himself, so we hope that'll translate into the test stuff. As for the future, Tim Southee, established all-format cricketer, even when it looked like he wasn't going to be an all-format cricketer anymore, he was slipping up slightly. Well, he hauled it back. He's now back in the ODI team as a regular. So big ups to the fella for that. He has captained one ODI before. It was a loss to England at Mount Maunganui in 2018, which means that he'll complete the set when he leads the team out in Pakistan for the first test. Kiwis to have captained the Blackcaps in all three formats: Stephen Fleming, Daniel Vittori, Brendan McCullum, Ross Taylor, Kane Williamson, and Tom Latham, interestingly enough. Tom Latham, who didn't get the test gig this time around, but who knows, he might get it next time. So Tom Latham has skippered 9 tests and doesn't have a very good record. I think he's lost 6 of them. He has captained 21 ODIs. He's also captained 5 T20 games. I believe the 5 games he captained was probably that Bangladesh series prior to, was it the T20 World Cup before last? I think they played with a sort of a backup team. I think he captained that. So there's his 5 T20 things. You wouldn't have necessarily thought he would have done that, not being a very regular pick in the T20 team, but he has. And with 9 tests and 21 ODIs, he's an all-format captain. And incredibly, the 21 ODIs that he's captained, 19 wins, 1 loss, 1 no result as ODI captain. Mostly against Bangladesh, Ireland, West Indies, and Netherlands. I will say that. They're all games he's expected to win, but still, 19 wins and 1 loss from 21 games with a no result is an outstanding record for Tom Latham as an ODI captain. And I think he is doing some captaincy, isn't he, in the series against India after Southee and Williamson both go home after the Pakistan ODI series on the next tour. I think that's the case, isn't it? Tom Latham's captaining there, so should boost that up to 23, right, with a sweep over India?
I know nothing about the Blackcaps going to India. How about that?
It could be Mitchell Santner, come to think of it. I actually didn't check. I just assumed it'd be Latham.
I know it's Tom Latham.
Okay, good.
But I'm saying I know nothing. Henry Shipley stats here. Most important stat around Henry Shipley. Plunkett Shield, 2 games played, 8 sixes. Next best are a bunch of players with 5 sixes. And then you go to the Ford Trophy, which has just been paused for some Super Smash cricket. Tim Seifert has hit 9 sixes in 5 games of the Ford Trophy, and he is the only player over 8 sixes. So Tim Seifert has hit 9 sixes in 5 games in the Ford Trophy. Henry Shipley has hit 8 sixes in 2 games in the Plunkett Shield. He's hitting sixes. He actually only hit 1 6 in the Ford Trophy. So he loves the Plunkett Shield 6. And coming into the Super Smash, that might be useful because old mate Shipley, he's got a T20 batting strike rate of 143, which is really high. And he's got a bowling strike rate of 17.7, which is really low. So don't worry about Henry Shipley as Blackcaps ODI cricketer selected for the Pakistan and the other bit of their upcoming tour. You're going to have a whole lot of Henry Shipley in the Super Smash over the coming days, and he is an absolute monster of this format. He's going to be banging sixes, and he's going to be ripping deliveries through batsmen as well. So tap in. Deep in the Mangroves wildcard. I think you got a couple of football first 11s to drop.
I do, and I hesitated a bit to do this for my Mangroves. I wanted to get something National League-y in there, and this was the best thing I had to throw up. But I also didn't want to spoil the thing before I published the articles. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the first 11s from my team of the seasons. I do a first 11, second 11, third 11, sort of like the NBA format, just because the first 11 gets boring and you don't get to acknowledge players who were very good and didn't quite get there because played for a bad team or whatever. So I'm not going to read the second and third 11s. I'm going to save that mystery. I'm also not going to explain these at all. I'm just going to read the names to keep the mystery. So if people hear it and think, what is that bastard doing in there ahead of this bastard? Well, you're going to have to read the article and find out. I'm just going to keep as Einstein would say, like the beauty of the mystery. I'm going to keep that going. So the men's first 11 in the 2022 National League season. Goalkeeper, Connor Tracy, Auckland City. Right back, Jack Emery Sinclair from Wellington Olympic. He was my overall MVP as well. Centre backs, Curtis Mogg from Auckland United and Dino Bodica from Birkenhead. And also left back, who's also a centre back, Sam Brotherton from Auckland City, because I just wanted to have the extra. I thought 3 centre backs was played better than anyone at left back. Midfield trio, Michael Den Heyer from Auckland United. So you got old mate Jorgensen from Burko and Cam Howison, no surprises there, from Auckland City. Fraud trio of Jesse Randall and Gianni Bazookas from Wellington Olympic with Garvin Coughlin of Kashmir Technical. There's your 11. Women's 2022 National League. I was confused over the seasons and the numbers again there. Those bloody years. Goalkeeper, Brooke Bennett of Eastern Suburbs. Right back, Talisha Green of Northern Rovers. Centre backs, the 2 captains from the grand final, actually, Lily Jervis of Western Springs and Rebecca Van Dort of Eastern Suburbs, with Lara Wall of Canterbury United at left back. We got Rose Morden as the defensive midfielder, Southern United. We got a couple of very attacking centre midfielders along with her, but Rose Morden covers enough ground that doesn't matter. Rena Hirano of Western Springs and Taylor O'Brien of Eastern Suburbs. Her teammate Devin Jackson, who was the star player in the grand final with 2 goals and 2 assists. She's in the forward line, as is Sophia Garcia of Western Springs, also in that game. And I reserve the right to change this because I'm not entirely sure whether I'm going Kelly Brown or Bree Johnson as the final striker. Right now, leaning towards Kelly Brown from Northern Rovers. And there you go. I'm not going to explain anything more because that's what the article is for. So people can wait for that one and read that beauty. But in the meantime, there's a couple of first 11s from the season that was.
A little excursion into the mangroves here, Wildcard. I do have to roll through these quickly as we are nearing the back end of the show. Ben Murdoch-Masila has been released from the Warriors. Little bit of noise that he could be going to the St. George Dragons.
Oh. Who's 15th on the list on the power rankings?
So he's off to another NRL club. So you might be getting old Ben Murdoch-Masila, but as a little podcast segment here, variety show, we do love a bit of variety. It is the spice of life. No dramas for the Warriors. Like Ben Murdoch-Masila didn't really play a whole lot. To be honest, he was kind of lackluster when he did play. And I think he would be playing a small role in the Warriors next season, and I think you're better off giving small roles to younger, cheaper players within the Warriors organization. So I don't think it's a major loss for the Warriors. Did feel like his time at the Warriors was a bit underwhelming, and I think the Warriors will be again, I'm cautiously optimistic about the Warriors, and this has zero impact, to be honest. It's pretty, apart from a whiff of a possible Dragons connection, this has no real impact at all. Actual deep in the mangroves, we got HBJ, Halliburton Johnston Shield, moving into Women's Super Smash, and we've also got, unlike the Blackcaps, New Zealand Cricket, big up the Super Smash. They love the Super Smash. They want the best players not playing the Super Smash. There's no White Ferns cricket. So it means a lot of the best female cricketers will be playing Women's Super Smash. So just a couple of names to keep track of and really follow throughout the Women's Super Smash, or names that I'm going to be following closely and I'm going to be writing about. The Auckland trio of Lauren Down, Molly Penfold, and Fran Jonas will be especially interesting. Lauren Down looked a bit Ben Murdoch-Masila in the recent series against Bangladesh looked a bit underwhelming. So she's kind of planned for selection moving forward within the White Ferns. Like to see her dominate run scoring with Auckland. Molly Penfold should be ripping through domestic batting lineups. She's one of the fastest bowlers in Aotearoa, fantastic athlete. doesn't consistently dominate domestic cricket, but she should be. And I'll be tracking that with the Auckland team. And of course, Fran Jonas, who I reckon is one of the best spinners in the world. She has no like White Ferns context. She's always going to be selected. I do want to double down on her being one of the best spinners in the world already. And with that in mind, she's going to be fun to watch during the Super Smash. Northern have Brooke Halliday, who was injured in the Bangladesh series, didn't really get to play, and she is a role player in the T20 team, which will be especially interesting ahead of the T20 World Cup. She needs some runs. She is capable of dominating in the Super Smash, but she also has this thing where she looks good for 20, 25 runs, 30 runs, and then gets out. Almost, you can set your watch to it. So I'm interested to see how she goes with Northern. Central, you got Hannah Rowe, should be shining as an all-rounder. I think she can be a high-impact player in the Super Smash. And Rosemary Mayer has dropped out of the White Ferns T20 mixer. So watch out for her, as she seems to dip a few levels in the depth chart. Wellington, Georgia Plummer. Can she find a role in a very powerful Wellington batting lineup? Just looking for 20 runs off 15 balls, 30 runs off 20 balls for Georgia Plummer, batting around the likes of Sophie Devine and Amelia Kerr. Canterbury, they have Gabby Sullivan, who is the leading second for wickets in the Halliburton Johnston Shield. 9 wickets at an average of 8.66, and she has a T20 bowling average of 18.42, which is better than her one-day bowling average. I think she got called up to the wider White Ferns squad for one of their series maybe last summer, and she's bowling really well this summer to start the season as well. Otago, looking forward to seeing Eden Carson bowling in T20 cricket. Should be highly effective in that Otago unit. And then also Hayley Jensen, who I think can play a key role in the White Ferns T20 international setup. And she has the ability to swing the ball. I'll be looking for her to take plenty of wickets, opening the bowling or just as a seeming all-rounder in that Otago team. And if she can show some impact and influence with her batting, that would be great as well. Question time. My question to you, Wildcard. What was the most exciting thing about the Wellington Phoenix victory last weekend, ahead of their distance derby?
Yeah, very, very early hours of Christmas Eve morning. They're playing away to Perth. I'm tempted to say that I liked that they showed a little bit of mongrel against who were they playing? Was it Adelaide?
Yep.
So yeah, it was it. Tempted to say that I like the fact they showed a little bit of mongrel and hanging on there for that victory. They got up to a nice lead. They saw their opponents reduced to 10. They kept going and scored another goal. They didn't let off the foot off the gas in the way that they have in other games where they've been leading late in matches, particularly a couple of home games where they've let it slip. One was against Adelaide in the first game of the season. Also, of course, that Western United game where so it was a 2-0 up and lost 3-2, I think. Yeah, they've shown a few signs, like just a couple of times where they've been playing really nice, and it's they've kind of just stuck with that. Like they're playing nice, keep it going, everything's flash, sweet as, and then don't react when other teams go up the gears late in games because they're losing and have to change something and try it. And then, they've conceded an equalizer, they've conceded a late winner and dropped some points they shouldn't have. They showed some mongrel in this game. Like they scrapped and they were taking, Clayton Lewis taking a yellow card late on for fouling the guy on halfway. Let's not let a counter attack even get going. Like that's good to see. I like that. But also just 3 goals all scored by the imports. As much as we want to see Ben Wayne, Costa Barbarosas, dudes like all whites guys scoring the goals and getting big minutes, if they're playing off the bench because they've got 3 import guys scoring goals, the Phoenix are in a better position. Like you want us to get the best out of your imports. We're starting to see a bit more of that. Kraev has scored in about 4 games in a row. Zavada's starting to get into his stride. He scored inside 2 minutes of that game. And also Jan Sask and cheeky deflection. That'll help his confidence nicely. So that's where I'm feeling about that. You talked a bit about Henry Shipley at the start. Some stats earlier on. That's not enough for me. I want the full scouting report. What else you got in the folder there on Henry Shipley?
Henry Shipley, tall seam bowler from Canterbury. Funky action, moves the ball into the right-hander. Great seam movement. Less swing, more seam. Highly capable batter. Not sure how that batting has an immediate translation into international cricket. Probably be a slow cooker as an international batting, or in international batting as an all-rounder. Not sure how fast he bowls. He's one of those bowlers where you look at it and you think, like, he could be 130 Ks. But he's also got some juice in a couple of deliveries when you think, oh, he could be 138 Ks. So I'm going to split the difference. I'll say probably bowls around 134 Ks, just completely based off no evidence at all. Faster he bowls, the better, obviously. But he is one of Aotearoa's best cricketers, and his selection is probably based on potential. But that's all good because he's there as he's gone off to tour Pakistan and India. Like, that's a fantastic depth selection move. Musical jam here. Want to highlight a jam by Silas Futura and Fable, Control S. That is a funky jam. Also got a new album from Ab-Soul. Absolutely the best. He's got a new album called Herbert. So I'm intrigued to listen to that over the coming weeks. And also shout out to this beat tape from Saya SFT, sorry. He's got a beat tape on Bandcamp. If you go to Renaissance Music NZ Bandcamp, you'll find it. It's called Vai, which apparently means water in Tongan. And it's basically 18 tracks of very mellow, delightful beat loops. I was going to say beating loops, but beat loops probably sounds better, and it's just good music. So shout out to him and shout out to Aotearoa Music.
Yeah, I'll keep that trend up with 3 singles by let's call them Kiwi indie bands, probably. Wiridonna is one. I think it was either early this year or late last year, there was an EP from Wiridonna, which was very good, very good. Like, I enjoyed it a lot. I didn't catch on to it as soon as it came out. I caught up with it more recently. They got a new single out, which sounds great. Ernie Bell, one of my favorite Aotearoa albums of the year. She's just chucked up a Christmas song, which sounds a lot like the album that she made before. So she's clearly got a defined sound, which is excellent. Also, the Veils. They got a new tune, which I haven't heard yet, but I'm quite interested to see where they go. They're a band that I think is quite nicely poised to do some stuff. Been around a fair bit longer than the others. And I'll just chuck in as well, the second single off the new Iggy Pop album was a banger, called Strung Out Johnny, it was called. Sounds like one of those back in the 70s, here's a story I've got to tell kind of thing. But yeah, that one's awesome. Shout out Iggy Pop, still doing it.
Big up yourself. Big up Aotearoa Sport Care. Kaha, stay beautiful. We'll be back with another podcast on Thursday. Plenty of Aotearoa sports content live right now on all Niche Cage platforms, and plenty coming up as well. Kia kaha, stay beautiful. Cheer, cheer.